Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today for our midweek meta deck spot we are playing the deck list that won a challenge the other day, and it's a pretty spicy one. It's a blue-white Stoneblade deck with Staff of the Storyteller. So this is the new hotness in Legacy at the moment, a lot of people are trying out. It's a 2-mana artifact that comes into play and makes a 1/1 spirit. Whenever you create one or more creature tokens, you put a counter on this artifact, and you can pay 1 white and tap it, remove a counter from it, and draw a card. So essentially, you get a card draw off the first creature you make, and then every time you make any sort of token, you get to reload this and draw another card with it. So ways of using this to make tokens, we've got quite a few. So Wandering Emperor, this makes some tokens. We have our Batterskull and Kaldra Compleat, which we can get off our Stoneforge Mystic. If we put these into play, they come with a token, which pumps up Staff of the Storyteller. We have 4 Shark Typhoon, which is a very good one. So effectively, we're drawing extra cards because of this on the Storyteller. Timeless Dragon, so when you eternalize this, you make a token, which is going to pump our Staff of the Storyteller. So we've got a few bits and pieces there as well as other staffs. And we have this little spicy one here, Shorikai Genesis Engine. So this is a bit of a weird one. So you can use it to draw 2 cards and discard a card. And then you create a 1/1 guy that crews vehicles quite effectively. And obviously this is a vehicle so you can crew later on potentially. But what this is going to do is just help you filter your draws and recharge your Staff as Storyteller and just be drawing so many cards that you should be able to bury your opponents. The rest of what this deck's trying to do is pretty simple. We're a Stoneforge deck. We've got our Brainstorms, we've got our Ponders, so we can filter to find our specific removal spells we need in terms of Swords to Plowshares, Prismatic Endings, or finding our Force of Will to interact with our opponent on the stack. We then have a couple of Supreme Verdicts in case we need to blow some stuff up. And we have this one of Humility, which is to try and shrink our opponent's guys, obviously. And with many show and tell plus natural order decks running around at the moment, Humility seems a pretty good one. And our deck is built around making 1/1 guys. So Humility is going to be pretty good. And if you've got a 1/1 guy and then you equip a Batterskull to it, it's not a 1/1 guy anymore. So this combo is actually pretty spicy. And I think this deck looks pretty sweet. Obviously it won the challenge, so it can't be too bad. I think Bosch and Roll played a version of this deck the other day. If I can find it, I will link it in the description below in case you want to watch that. Bosch and Roll's content's very good, so you should give that a go. Other than that, I don't think we've got much more to say about the main deck. We have the Singleton Karakas, and the rest of our mana base is pretty basic heavy. We've got a Tundra and a Volk, and I believe there's a Plateau in there as well. Yep. And the rest of it is just basic. So we can play around Blood Moons quite well, which is why we have a Blood Moon in the side. So in case you're wondering what the red sources are for, in the main deck it's for sideboard cards. So we've got a Red Blast and 2 Pyroblasts. Helps us win blue matchups, force things through. It's also very good against Cephalid Breakfast and a couple of combo decks like that. Blood Moon, this is shut down things like lands. Now, Blood Moon isn't always that effective, but when you're a blue deck that can then protect it with things like Force of Negation and Force of Will, it becomes really, really strong. We've got 2 Rest in Peace to try and hate on a lot of these Delirium decks that are popping up. This is okay against Reanimator, but it's not great because it's quite slow. You have to sort of survive the first 2 turns and then play this Rest in Peace. So it's not really going to get there that often. But Show and Tell, we can put in a Humility when they cast Show and Tell, which is pretty nice. So we've got another one in the sideboard for those matchups. We've got 2 Surgical Extractions to sort of fill the gap where the Rest in Peace doesn't work as well. Force of Negation for various combo decks. Also, because it's Exiles, it's very good against things like Life from the Loam. And we have 1 Blue Elemental Blast. Again, it's probably going to be mostly for these Delirium-y decks with... They're sort of like the successor to Delver, so they've got things like Dragon's Race Channeler that is really nice to nail with the Blue Elemental Blast, and they also go into things like Minsk and Boo, which can be a real problem for this sort of deck, so we can take that out. That's pretty much it for this deck. It's going to be a lot of trying to find the right bits. There's some numbers in here that look interesting to me, like the 1 of Wonder Emperor, the 1 of Teferi, the 1 of Humility. These are kind of interesting numbers to me, and we are sort of like an aggro deck, so the Supreme Verdict is a bit of an odd one. But then again, Kaldra Compleat is indestructible on the creature, so we can Supreme Verdict and just keep bashing. So I think it all makes sense, more or less. So I'm hoping we'll do all right with this one today. Like I said, it won the challenge, so must be all right. Before we do that, though, it's time for a quick plug. Like, comment, subscribe, do these things. They cost you nothing and help me out. And if you're interested, I'll put a link to my Discord that I've just started for my channel. So if you want to come and join me there and have a chat about stuff, there's some ways to support my channel in there, as well as just hanging out and giving me some ideas. All right, let's play some Legacy with Storyteller Stoneblade. This hand is okay. It's a little bit slow and we don't have a blue card for Force of Will, but I think we do keep this because we have sort of our main game plan here of Stoneforge in our hand here. And we have a lot of draws that massively improve this Force of Will, so we can draw any cantrip, or we can draw, you know, any blue cards. We've got a fair few in there, things like Shark Typhoon that we can pitch to Force of Will. If we need the Force of Will for this first turn, then I think we'll be in a little bit of trouble. But our hand ignores Wasteland. We get to do our thing, so that's why I've kept this one. Okay, our opponent has finally played a Flooded Strand and passed. We didn't need our Force of Will on turn 1. That's always a good sign. I think we play out the Prismatic Vista here so we can represent blue spells as well as our Swords to Plowshares here. This will probably tell our opponent that we're on a fair deck, because usually Prismatic Vista is a fair deck card. More on the sort of control-y slant rather than some sort of combo deck. Alright, we could be on a mirror match here, to be honest. Let's see what comes out of this Prismatic Vista. Snow-covered plains. Flood Strand being cracked as well now for a snow-covered island. Alright, Staff of the Storyteller. Yeah, this feels like a mirror match. I'd very much like to draw a blue card now, just to have this Force of Will be live. There we go. So I think we'll play out this plains, and then we're going to crack this for an island. And we're just going to put down the big scary threat. Kaldra Compleat. So they can kill our Stoneforge, or they can get rid of our token once it comes into play. But we have a Force of Will if we need to fight over something. If we want to leverage the maximum value, we could play Staff of the Storyteller and draw a card off it next turn, and then play the Kaldra to put another counter on our Staff of the Storyteller. But I think that's probably somewhat on the greedy side. Now, if our Stoneforge Mystic eats it to a removal spell this turn, so we can't get the Kaldra in play, then we're probably just going to be on the Storyteller line. It's going to be a long and grindy game for sure. No play from our opponent here. Alright, this is coming in for 1 point of damage here. Blocking and Kaldra doesn't really do a lot, so that makes sense to me. We're losing our Stoneforge, could be a Prismatic Ending on it, or they could just save the Prismatic Ending for the Germ token. We then get into the question of, do we want to be trying to Force of Will and push through that way? Or do we just want to let this go and set him for a longer game? I think that's going to depend on what we draw and what our opponent does between then and now. A Brainstorm from our opponent, sure. They resolve that one quite quickly, and now they're fetching away. We've got Tundra. What is this going to do? A Ponder, sure. So if they're going to remove our Stoneforge this turn, it's going to have to be via Swords to Plowshares. They shuffled their library off the Ponders. That's pretty good news for us. Opponent has 5 cards in hand. Don't think we need to get greedy here and try and do a Storyteller line. I think we just put in the Kaldra and swing. Now, we might be Force of Willing their removal spell that comes out of this plane, so I'm expecting to get hit by, but we'll see. Okay, no removal spell. Interesting. So I think we might just be protecting this Phyrexian Germ token now. On the plains. So we've got access to Swords to Plowshares this turn if we need it. We also have this Force of Will. I imagine our opponent has some interaction at this point. Swords to Plowshares on our Phyrexian Germ token. Now I did say we're going to protect this, so I'm going to stay true to my plan here and see if we can just force this through their throat. If they have a counter spell, it's only going to be Force of Will if they're on the same list as us, which means that this will at least be an even trade. They could have another removal spell though. There's a Brainstorm, sure. We'll allow this one. We don't really have a choice, but here we are. They've got another removal spell for this? They do. Okay. Settling in then. Our opponent is quite far behind on clock already, which bodes well if this is going to be a long matchup, which I suspect it is due to the nature of the mirror. Alright, so they're probably going to come in for 1 here. That's fine. The Wandering Emperor. This is a pretty good one, but I think we're probably on the Storyteller, the Staff of Storyteller line here. Because this just makes the rest of our plays better from here on out. Because this is draw us a card, this will draw us a card, and we can kind of just settle in. We've got a pretty big life total advantage. And we can hold up Swords to Plowshares and then crack Staff of Storyteller if needs be. They might Prismatic Ending our Storyteller, our Staff of Storyteller, which is pretty good play because these things are going to get out of hand in this matchup. But we shall see how the game progresses. We're not going to be trading here because we want to be the aggressor. We'll take our 1. Just takes us back down to 20 because we gain that 5 off of the Kaldra getting Swords to Plowshares. Okay, so let's crack this. Go get ourselves a second at Snow-Covered Plains. We will take ourselves a free card here. Another land, not too shabby. Alright, this is a very strong play if we can get this in. Alright. So this is going to charge up both of our staffs here. So our engine is significantly ahead of our opponent's. Now our opponent is quite clearly telegraphing a Shark Typhoon for 3 here. So if we want to do this, we would have to plow if we attack with these. I think we just don't attack into the shark this turn. Just try and leverage our double stuff. If they attack with their shark at some point, we can put in the Emperor and get rid of it. Yeah, so there's the Shark Typhoon I didn't want to attack into. Forcing us to use our plow on this shark is not really something I would like to do. I'd rather hold this up to either dig some more cards or hold the plow up for something a bit scarier later down the line. Snake of a Mountain from our opponent. Staff of the Storyteller. I think we want to counterspell this, if we can. So we're going to draw a card here. We didn't hit the thing we needed, sure. We can put a Batterskull into play on our next turn, so we can Stoneforge and then put it in with the other Stoneforge. That kind of keeps up our aggro plan. We can make a 0/0 shark, which will charge both of our staves and draw us a card, but I don't think that's worth doing when we're probably going to leverage the body later on. And if this game's going to go longer, that certainly favours us with the speed our opponent's playing at. They're all coming in. Okay, that's fine. We can take this. It's only 4. What are we looking at now? A Scalding Tarn. Okay, this is pretty good. We're going to get ourselves a Tundra. Let's cast this Stoneforge Mystic first. Okay, so this gets us a Batterskull. We can put the Batterskull in and charge up both of these. This seems like a pretty good play right now. We'll crack this for a Tundra. Our opponent doesn't have any ways of disrupting our mana base in game 1. Let's get this Tundra into play. The only thing we want red for is a Prismatic Ending, but the Prismatic Ending targets that we're most likely to want to hit are 2 mana. So our opponent's representing a 2/2 shark here. I think we just pass the turn here and then put the Batterskull in our opponent's turn and draw a card off of our Staff of the Storyteller. Sure. So the idea in this matchup, what you want to do is you want to keep... so next time I draw a card off of Staff of the Storyteller, I want it to be this one. I don't want to have too many built up on one thing because Prismatic Ending can blow it up. So we'd like to make sure that whichever one they hit, they're only reducing us drawing 1 card rather than having stacked 2 counters on 1. A Timeless Dragon, sure. It feels like this game could come down to time. We are a full 5 minutes ahead of our opponent here. We're about to put a Batterskull into play. We have this Wandering Emperor if we would like that as a thing, but I think the Batterskull is the better play here. It feels like our opponent should have drawn into some sort of counterspell at this point. It's been a while. So I'll attack with a 3/3 because we're only representing a 2/2 shark right now. Unless they feel they have to be on blocks. Interesting. Sure, we'll take this too. The Batterskull is going to force some action from our opponent, I would imagine. They're just eternalizing this. So this is going to charge up both their staffs. Let's put in this living weapon, charges our staffs. This deck's really neat. A lot of good interactions on it. Still our opponent's end step. We will draw ourselves a free card here. A Ponder, sure. Interesting. I think I'm going to lead out on a Ponder here. See if we can find... Ooh, it's an interesting selection of things. So we have this Prismatic Ending, which is definitely one of the things we want here. So put Verdict on top, then the Strand, and then the... So we can Prismatic Ending there, Timeless Dragon, but the thing we need to really hit here is the Staff of the Storyteller. This is what the matchup is all about. So we're going to hit the one with 2 counters on. If they have a Force of Will, this is worth Force of Willing, because this is like the engine of the deck. Hard casting a Force of Negation, sure. So we can nail this Timeless Dragon right now and then start attacking. Or we can see if they want to make the trade here. To make the trade here, we can do the bounce and redeploy trick. But that will be a bit slower kicking off there. I think we can do this though. We're just going to attack with this for now. Because every time we bounce and replay this, we charge up both of our staffs here. So we can hopefully bury our opponent cards. We're going to go for the trade here. So we have a Kaldra, a land on top of our library right now. So we can play that and equip Kaldra to something as well. Sure. So we traded that off. We could Brainstorm here to get that fetch land. It's on top of our library. Doesn't really cost us anything here because I haven't played a land yet this turn. I think we'll do that. Okay, so we do not want this Stoneforge Mystic. I don't think this is going to be a Supreme Verdict game. So we can put that on top as well. And we can play out our Flooded Strand. Pass the turn. Right, our opponent's going to go to attacks here. What's coming in? Just the shark. Okay, and a spirit token. I can trade off some of these things, but we can put a Kaldra on our spirit tokens and force them to, or a Batterskull on these spirit tokens and force them to waste removal on a spirit token, rather than just trading it here, which feels much stronger for us. Right, so drawing a card off their Storyteller. Now we have assembled the engine here, so... Right, we're casting something big here. A Shark Typhoon. Is this a hard cast Shark Typhoon? Interesting. And we will crack our Flooded Strand in response. We'll get ourselves a Snow Covered Plains. We're going to draw a card here. And we're going to draw another card. Then we're going to cast a Brainstorm. Okay, this seems alright. I like this land. Not so bothered by the Supreme Verdict right now. And we can draw the Ponder. Sure, this can resolve. This is just going to be making 1/1s. But we're going to be making Batterskull, Kaldra type stuff. So how do we want to navigate this turn? Like they're holding up a very obvious source to Plowshares here. Which is going to hit whatever we do here. So I think we're going to just jam out... Actually, no, we don't want to jam out that just yet, do we? We want to bounce this Batterskull first. And then we'll put this Batterskull in. Just going to charge up both of our staffs here. We can go to attacks. And then we've got a couple of card draws and a source of Plowshares we can hold up here. Because they didn't feel the need to plow. Looks like they're just going to draw a card end of turn instead. Sure. Okay, this is game one. I suspect this entire match is going to come down to time. Like we can play our own Shark Typhoon if we want to. But the fact that we have equipment on board means that in the face of humility, our opponents won't have much that they can do. Sure, they're just casting another Shark Typhoon. That's fine. So we're going to try and force through a humility in a minute. Like, this is quite an engine. We can obviously assemble the same engine. We have a Shark Typhoon in hand. But that's not what our strategy is. Yes, this is a lot of ability to draw cards and things right now. Deck is pretty sweet. Kind of seeing some different lines of attack from both of us here. Our opponent might not even have the Stoneforges in. I don't believe the list that Bosch and Roll played had the Stoneforges in. So they're coming in for 4 here. I would very much like to draw a Force of Will so we can force through our humility. Let's see how we go. Draw a card, please. Supreme Verdict. Alright, that's not nothing. Let's draw another card. There's the Force of Will that we wanted. Sure. We have a Prismatic Ending as well. If we want that, I think our strategy is we can probably fire off the Ponder here just in case we find a Force of Will on top. Any order. Do we fire off this Brainstorm as well? I think we can fire off this Brainstorm. Just to find an extra layer of protection to guarantee our humility goes through. We did not find it. Okay. This Wandering Emperor is probably not where we need to be right now. Shorikai on top. Not sure how many lands we have left to fetch actually. So let's cast Humility. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our opponent's got the Force of Negations in their deck as well, which is something that we don't have main deck. Our opponent appears to be paying costs for something. A Brainstorm, sure. So having a 5/5 Vigilance Lifelink guy when everything is 1/1 is going to be pretty good. Actually, it's not going to have lifelink, is it? Because they're going to lose... Actually, no. The layers mean it should have lifelink, I believe. Because of how equipment works. Does a creature lose ability, but the Batterskull bestows abilities? It might be a case of I have to re-equip to get that. I'm not sure. Force of Will. Making some guys. Making some counters. Just, I think we'll pitch the Shark Typhoon because we might need a Supreme Verdict soon. Okay, so this doesn't have the lifelink. I need to re-equip it, I think, to get the lifelink on it. That's how that one works. This represents an interesting proposition now, because if this doesn't have the vigilance, what are we doing here? Let me just check my lands. We have 11 sources. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So these do have things they can find. We can fire off some removal spells now. I think we just have to pass the turn, weirdly. So if I re-equip this, I'm pretty sure the layers mean that the thing gets the abilities. I could be wrong on that one. I guess we're about to find out. We can plow our own Germ Token for 5 life in this turn cycle and then Supreme Verdict and sort of get us back to a weird state of the game. So they do have lethal damage coming towards us right now. Because this is 10 and we only have 5 blockers. We can block 1 and then plow this because we're about to Wrath. The Wandering Emperor. It's good, pretty annoying. So this makes something bigger to get above the humility. So +1/+1, counter, and first strike until end of turn. Sure. But we can block that with our 5/5, so. They should be attacking with everything to force us to do something here. Or I guess if it goes wrong, we might be able to kill them on the backswing, is what they're worried about. Yep, sure. Okay, so this is 6. Okay, yep, so they could have just hit the attack with all button and saved themselves 30 seconds, but here we go. Source Plowshares on our Germ Token. Okay. We were kind of going to do that ourselves. We are going to get the block off first, but So this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if we go to blocks, we go 1, 2, 3. So this leaves 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage coming through. So if we equip Kaldra onto our Stoneforge Mystic, I think we are just going to be wrathing the board next turn though. So I think we just go, okay, prevent some damage here, take a bit of a hit. This Wandering Emperor can definitely get out of hand for us though. So this is white, blue, blue, white. Let's kill everything. Now what are we doing? We can't really deal with this. We can make a Staff of the Storyteller here though, which gives us a token, which gives us a load of card draw if we want it. And I think we're just passing here and hoping I understand how layers and humility work, which I may well not understand how they work, because humility has probably been the source of more judge calls than any other card in Magic the Gathering history, I would say. Teferi Time Raveler. That's a pretty annoying one. I think we're going to draw a card. We might be able to hit a Force of Will here, which might be quite useful. A Wandering Emperor of our very own. Let's crack. We should have another white source. Yes, we have Snow-Covered Plains and a Plateau. So we can draw some more cards. If we cast a Force of Will here, this Flooded Strand stops working though, which is important to note. Prismatic Vista. So there's no point trying to draw another card right now anyway. And 1 life is quite a big difference. So this can bounce the humility out of play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 9 mana potentially. So our opponent's only got 7 minutes left of this round. A standstill. Okay, so they are going more Shark Stilly than we are. That's fine. Like, this isn't really about cards anymore, I don't think. It's about things in play. Like, I feel we are losing this game. They can deck themselves here, but the Shark Typhoon means that they will eventually just get enough creatures to kill us. Unless we can force something through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this costs 7 to equip. Understood. So they've got 6 damage here. How much of it can we shred away? Not as much as I would like. Play out this Stoneforge. Have some cards off your standstill. I don't really care. Force of Will. Sure, they're going to make some more guys. I think we are drawing a card here. Source to Plowshares is not really that helpful, is it? Okay, so our Stoneforge is gone. And we've got 8 damage coming across. We need 5 mana to equip this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to get a creature into play for 2 mana, which we can't do. This is not going to work. Let's see if our opponent makes a mistake here. Might as well grind a little bit of their clock because they're incredibly slow playing at the moment. So not a great way to win a game of Magic the Gathering, but I'll take it. We don't get to cast any of our spells. Maybe we should be putting these things on the stack, but boop, bounce this. Alright, our opponent's got 5.5 minutes to win this game. Alright, so what are we going to want sideboard-wise? Pyroblast and Red Blast seem pretty good. I don't actually hate the Surgical Extractions here, weirdly. I think Force of Negation is good here. I do not like the Humility. That's not necessary. I think the rest of our stuff is pretty good here. We're just trying to sort of slow the game down and grind it out. It's going to be pretty hard for our opponent to win in this time. Plows are a little bit less interesting to me because they haven't shown us the... We haven't seen any sort of Stoneforge type packages, so I guess we'll get rid of these Plows. That gives us 2 more slots to try and find. Like, the Stoneforges can definitely steal a game pretty early on. Don't really want to board out blue cards, although we're kind of sort of trading up a little bit here anyway. Maybe we can drop a couple of Ponders, just have lots of business. Sure. Our opponent has to try and win this game in 5 minutes 30. Sure. We can keep this. We have our Stoneforge plan into more stuff. Play out a Snow-Covered Island, so we can represent things like Spell Pierce and Misstep. Next time we play out the Plains. Okay, our opponent's conceded because they don't believe that they can win the game. Okay, I assume our opponent conceded because they didn't think they could win the game. It says they've left the game, so I just have to wait for the timer to tick down now. Because that's how it is. Alright, our opponent has joined the game again. Maybe they just thought their hand wasn't very good. We're not going to lose this game in 5 minutes with this hand, so we'll keep it. Not how I like to play games of Magic the Gathering, but there we are. Maybe our opponent just thinks they're going to win the game better on the play. Right, just play lead out on this Snow-Covered Island. I really don't want to use this Force of Negation. If they play a Storyteller staff, I would normally consider the Force of Negation, but because we have the Supreme Verdict and we're basically just in a clock game, we may as well save the Supreme Verdict for sweeping things up later on, because we can guarantee to buy ourselves several turns with that, which hopefully will just be enough to win a game later on. Again, not how I like to play Magic the Gathering, but if our opponent has misused their clock by a good 5 minutes, then we should probably make the most of it. Stand still. Sure. Okay, so we can play out our Flooded Strand now, so we can access our Red Elemental Blast if we need to. So the way you play against Standstill usually is either you pop it immediately, or you wait till your opponent's got the most amount of cards in hand that they can have, and then you pop it that way. So they have to discard. A Force of Will. Would have liked to have drawn a land that turn, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm going to have to go to discard here. We'll just get rid of this Batterskull. Did not draw a land. Interesting. I'll get rid of one of our Prismatic Endings here. If we could just draw a land, that'd be nice. Or a Shark Typhoon is also fine here. A land, sure. Oh, we don't have to go to discard. And then when this game eventually cracks open, we'll be able to do something. So our opponent's on 7 cards now. So if we crack the Standstill on our opponent's hand. So they're cracking the Standstill to give us the 3 cards. Interesting. Would I like to cycle this Timeless Dragon? No, I don't think so. We're just going to put it in the bin. You can go away, and you can go away. We're going to get rid of one more card. I guess it's probably the ending here. We kind of want to surgically extract a Shark Typhoon so our opponent just doesn't have any win conditions left. That's what we're sort of building up to. A Ponder, sure. Our opponent's definitely more on the control-y side of this matchup as well, because they don't have like the Stoneforge plan. They're just got more control spells, things like the main deck forces and such like. So I think they are generally favoured in this matchup. So we're going to have to play a little bit dirty, hence what we're doing here. Staff of the Storyteller. Let's go and get ourselves, and we will cast this Force of Negation hard cast. Oh, I've left the wrong mana up there. I'm supposed to leave the red up for the Red Elemental Blast. A Force of Will. Sure. I've tapped the wrong land there. I guess we're just going to let the Staff of the Storyteller go on. This gives them a lot of things to click through, I guess. We don't really care about them trying to win the game, because it's not going to be something they can do in 2.5 minutes, in my opinion. But we should have left up the red blast for that. So we're looking at this turn. I think we're just playing out planes and passing the turn. Which feels like a long league already, and it's just the first game. Yikes. Alright. They're just going to hard cast a Shark Typhoon. That's what I'm assuming our opponent is going to do. A Teferi Time Raveler. I would not like to see this in play. Let's try and Force a Negation that. A Pyroblast, sure. Would I like to Pyroblast this Teferi? I don't think so. They're just bouncing their Storyteller staff so they can get more card draw. Sure. I think we have to just prioritize things that are going to close the game out for them. That's what this red blast is going to do. If we can put a... So our plan is to put a Shark Typhoon into our opponent's graveyard and then surgically extract it. That's kind of how we're planning on winning this game. Just remove our opponent's threats and then they won't be able to clock us in 1 minute. I see no reason why we don't just play this guy out. Get ourselves a cheeky Kaldra. Put our land. And pass. I don't want to use the Force of Will with Supreme Verdict. Obviously I have a Teferi, so using this Force of Will isn't really a thing we get to do right now. But the Red Elemental Blast can just blow up a... That's getting plowed, that's fine. Yeah, so our Red Elemental Blast can just blow up a Shark Typhoon if they play one. And we can sweep up all the creatures with the Verdict, and then our opponent will probably struggle to win the game. That's the plan, at least. If we can draw one of our own Shark Typhoons, we can cycle it and eat one of these Spirit Tokens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess we're doing this. Do we want an additional blue or additional white? It's probably the white, given the way this deck is constructed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's hardcast a Kaldra Compleat. I'm not expecting this to do very much, but it'll mess up our opponent's resources, perhaps. They might point something at this, like a Source to Plowshares. We might be able to eat the Teferi here. I suspect we're just getting plowed. Yeah, so this gives us 5 more life, which is 3 more turns. Again, our opponent has 1 minute and 2 seconds left on their clock, so we should be alright to win this one. The one thing I'm worried about is Shark Typhoon. That's what we've got the Red Blast for, and then we have the Supreme Verdict to follow up and buy us more turns once they start getting a lot of power into play. So there's a Shark Typhoon, sure. A Flooded Strand. So, let's try and destroy this Shark Typhoon. They can cast a Force of Will here. A Force of Negation. Sure, this gives them a 3-3. That's better for us than a Force of Will. Let's play this out. And pass the turn. So we take 5 here. And then we can play the Verdict if we want to. and buy us some more turns. So there's going to be another Shark Typhoon. Sure. All right. We definitely have to cast Supreme Verdict on our turn. If our opponent has a Force of Will, they can't make a Shark and then also attack with it because they'll get caught up by the Supreme Verdict. So I think just casting this Verdict and giving our opponent 10 seconds to win the game is pretty much how we're going to play this game. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 4. Opponent's got 10 seconds to make lethal threats and attack with them. I don't think that's going to happen. Sure. They're bouncing their Shark Typhoon and then replaying their Shark Typhoon. Okay, no, they're out of time. Yeah, pretty grim way to win a match, but this is why you have to be really on it with your clock in this matchup when you're playing sort of like dirty blue-white mirrors. I think their deck is favoured in this matchup because they are slightly bigger and they're more control-y, whereas we're more into things like Stoneforge. I suspect they have multiple Teferis, whereas we only have one. So we had to play a little bit dirty to win that one, but we got a match win, so it doesn't feel great though, but here we are. Round 2, let's go. We're on the play. What have we got here? We've got a hand that's pretty good against creatures, and we've got a Shark Typhoon to sort of ease us into the mid-game. I think we can keep this one. Trying to fish for counterspells in a deck that only runs 4 counterspells doesn't feel like a good idea. If our opponent is a combo deck, then we lose to their combo pretty much. Unless it's a creature-based combo, then we can have it. Would have liked to ponder in here over one of the lands maybe, but I'll take what we've got here. We'll get this Flooded Strand out. We can go and get a white source or a blue source depending on what we want with it. Maybe we're supposed to play the Vista there instead actually, but this makes our opponent not necessarily know what we're playing as much. Prismatic Vista means slow control deck usually. Okay, it looks like we're not going to have to crack our Strand at all this turn anyway. The reason we want to keep this one, because this can fetch our red sources. We can get a red source off the Vista, but the only reason we want red in the main deck is so we can cast a Prismatic Ending for 3. Okay, so we've got a snow-covered plain. So we'll play out this snow-covered plains. That puts our source of Plowshares online. I hope this isn't another mirror. I'd rather not just play nothing but mirrors all day. Ancient Tomb. Okay, so it's not a mirror. That's good. Now, this means we're probably looking at some sort of Omnitail deck, which should just smash us pretty hard, to be honest. I guess we're playing out our Storyteller staff here. We should be fine for using our Flooded Strand, though, for a non-basic, so we can go and get a Tundra. Alright, so we've got the Staff of Storyteller. This card feels real good. Intuition. We do not have a counterspell. Maybe we're supposed to cycle Shark Typhoon, but the problem is we can't find a... I guess we can crack the Storyteller for a thing, but there's no point holding on to the Shark Typhoon that turn because we need a blue card and a Force of Will, and this can only find one card. So we're probably just going to be on try and crack Storyteller to see if we can find a Force of Will for when they put the thing on the stack. Let's see what they find off their Intuition. Omniscience. That's not going to go great for us, I don't think. We're going to need all of our anti-combat cards in the very near future. Okay, they don't have it. Interesting. Let's crack this for a Tundra. Let's draw a card. We're looking for Force of Will, but I imagine our opponent's got loads of protection in their deck. If they got fetch lands, they're probably on green as well. It's the most common colour you normally see paired here. And we just play out this plains. Let's try for an attack. This could hit an Ice Fang, but I think we're okay with that. So we have a way of drawing some cards here. We can make a shark for 0 to draw a card, or for 1, and then pay 1 to draw a card. Yeah, so there's the green as I suspected. Where's this? Eureka. Do not really want this Eureka to resolve. Although we can put in a Shark Typhoon. We know they've got Omniscience, and they probably have Emrakul, so I think we do need to cycle this. We're looking for a blue card and a Force of Will off of 2 draws here. So this charges up the staff, so we get to draw another card. Alright, so our best option here is actually to Brainstorm instead, because this sees more cards. Alright. The text of this is permanent cards. We can put our Wandering Emperor in. Interesting. And we can put our Staff of Storyteller in. Also interesting. I think we're putting a land back, and then the Scalding Tarn. Actually, no, we want to put this land, we want to keep this land, don't we? Because we want to be able to activate our Staff of Storyteller in a second. Although I guess we can do it off of our Scalding Tarns if we want to. So we'll put back plains, and I can't imagine this source Plowshare is going to work, but if they've got something like an Atraxa, maybe we can actually get there. Alright, let's try it like this. I think I should have put back one of the plows here. Alright, let's put this onto the battlefield. Let's put this onto the battlefield. Put this onto the battlefield. Yep, so here's the Atraxa, so we can actually nail this with a think we don't have any more permanent cards. Just has to get a Plateau. We're going to try and plow this straight away in the hopes that, because they're more likely to draw a counterspell, whereas this way we at least have some stuff going on. There's an argument for keeping the Wandering Emperor in hand so we can flash it in after an Emrakul attacks and put its trigger on the stack. But what have we got here? None of those are an Emrakul. They chose Snow-Covered Islands, so we get rid of the other lands. They chose Lotus Petal, so no other artifacts. They chose Ponder, Omniscience, and Impulse, so no Force of Will. Alright, so they're casting a second Omniscience, sure. I imagine we're going to see the Impulse and the Ponder here. Is the Impulse? We need our opponent to not hit Emrakul here. And Atraxa. That is quite likely to find them more stuff here. There's an Emrakul. Can we beat this Emrakul with what's in play? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now our Wandering Emperor is the only Wandering Emperor we have, and it can't kill an Emrakul because it's already in play, and it won't. I guess the Emrakul attacks. Maybe they attack everything but the Wandering Emperor. I guess we can still win this game. I'm going to keep track of what's on their thing, but what are they going to have? Show and Tell, Emrakul, Brainstorm. Okay. It's a lot of clicking to do that. And this game is pretty much all over. We don't have the luxury of playing around our opponent's things. This Attractor does not have... this Attractor will be untapped when it attacks. It's a case of whether or not our opponent can play another Emrakul. Okay, so they're going to get an extra turn here. So this is going to put a +1/+1 counter on whatever. It doesn't matter here. We might as well just use the ability. There's no tapped creatures here. We need to get to another turn so that this can minus on the Emrakul. And then we can plow the Atraxa. So we have a way of winning this game. I say winning. We have a way of not losing this game. So let's see how we go. Sure. Annihilator 6. We have to get rid of this, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess we keep the Plateau. Or if we're going to cast Brainstorm, we might want to just keep Tundra and an island this turn. Sure. I guess we just block here. We can take the 7. So we can kill the Emrakul. Another Atraxa, that's less good. If this finds an Emrakul, we lose. I don't know which pile it is they're looking at, but I don't think there's an Emrakul in this section. So we might be alright. What do they reveal here? Okay. Ponder. If they cast another Emrakul, we lose the game. But if not, we can exile this. A Grizzlebrand. Okay, that's not an Emrakul. Chance of it finding an Emrakul seems pretty high, though. Prismatic Ending. Not really the one, is it? Let's exile this. Now, I think we're supposed to Brainstorm here. And then we've got to get rid of the Grizzlebrand. Teferi is something, isn't it? Our opponent's got a lot of mana, though. We definitely don't want this Prismatic Ending. The Shorikai doesn't do anything right now. I guess we exile this Grizzlebrand. I wonder how many cards our opponent's about to draw. They can draw 21 cards here. Okay, so we know what's on top of our library. I think we're dead here. Our opponent nearly whiffed their way out of that game. Alright, so what are we looking at to win this one? Humility feels like an excellent card here. Prismatic Ending feels like a terrible card. Force of Negations, we've got some text here. They've got Show and Tell, so we want the Red Blasts. I don't think we can afford to board in these Blood Moons. Surgical Extraction doesn't really feel like where we want to be either, although if we can hit their thing and remove one of their ways of making stuff, that seems reasonably good. Shorikai's got to go. These plows are probably a little bit too little, too late type thing. So this is roughly what we're looking at. I think this seems okay. Would I like some sort of Blood Moon effect for the purposes of shutting off some of their lands? We've seen quite a few basics from them. I don't think it's worth boarding that in. I'd rather have a plow over a Timeless Dragon. Timeless Dragon, not so good when we're heavier into the Humility plan, but we're kind of just hoping the Humility makes the plows not necessary. We don't have a way of dealing with the Omniscience once it's in play, so we need to just not let it get in play. I don't think we want to try and counter the first thing, then extract everything. I don't think that's a good plan, because we know they've got Show and Tell and Eureka, and they can also just play an Atraxa or a Grizzlebrand after a while anyway. Like, the Atraxa's relatively easy for them to cast with Lotus Petals, the Grizzlebrand is a lot more difficult. I think they need all 4 of their Lotus Petals for that one. But they can just cast an Atraxa. Alright, let's go first. What have we got? Okay, this hand has some lands, has some counter spells. We'll keep. We would like to curve into Teferi at some point if possible. Make sure all of our counter spells are the last word in Counter Wars. Defense grid. Alright. We have to get rid of this. Otherwise our force doesn't do anything. We'll play a Snow-Covered Plains. So we'd like to draw another blue card before we think about cycling the Shark Typhoon. He's going to show and tell this turn. A Ponder. Sure. So they could still show and tell off of a Lotus Petal. Just got to keep an eye out for that. They shuffled their library. That's good news for us. A Snow-Covered Plains. We'll play this one out. It's our opponent's turn. Given the nature of our deck, they can play this one pretty slow and steady, unfortunately, for it. We'll play out this Prismatic Vista. Still no more cards. We've only drawn lands so far this game. An Intuition. I guess Surging Extraction is pretty good against Intuition, isn't it? The reason I like not countering this is because they pull 3 of them out of their deck. Okay, so some Atraxa. So they're going for a Show and Tell or Eureka line pretty soon. But it pulls them out of their deck, so they don't have as many to draw into. I have a feeling that they are going to stop whatever we're doing here. Eureka. Let's say no to this. Okay. They might just have multiple Eurekas. So we're going to play out our Snow-Covered Mountains so that they at least expect a Pyroblast. We're also representing Hardcast Force of Will. Now we have only drawn lands this game, so statistically speaking we should lose this one because we've got so little business going on. A Brainstorm can flush away these 2 hands and these 2 cards in our hand. But we're in trouble here. We have nothing for this. If they're putting in an Atraxa, I think we don't put any cards in here. That's an Omniscience, sure. And then an Atraxa. What have you got? Are we going to concede? Okay, this isn't so bad. They get 1 Brainstorm here. They do get to Defense Grid first, but they get Brainstorm into something. Let's see what they find. So there's a Defense Grid. There's an Impulse. How bad is it going to be for us? A Grizzlebrand, sure. Well, we can draw Supreme Verdict here. So it's only when they put the Emrakul in that we really die. There's the Emrakul, sure. Well, game 1, our deck isn't really kitted out to beat this deck. We only have 4 Force of Wills, so we're going to struggle with that one. And then game 2, we only drew lands. So 5 turns, nothing but lands. We're going to lose that game, unfortunately. But such is life sometimes. Let's go on to round 3. We're on the play. This is fine. I think we can keep this. We can lead out on a Plains. We've got ourselves a Force of Will if we need it. I don't want to play the Volcanic Island until we're ready to do a Brainstorm with it. I brings Mulligan to 5. This makes me more inclined to play out our blue source in case we need to try and dig for a second Force of Will. That's so unrealistic. I think we play out the Plains, bait our opponent into thinking that we're Death and Taxes, and then surprise them with a Force of Will when they go all in on something if they're a 5-card hand. A Forest. Okay, we could be looking at something like Elves here. Or it could be one of these initiative decks, like the red-green ones. They sometimes have Forest in. But we'll get some more information in the very near future. Quirion Rangers, sure. I don't think we're going to hit this one just yet. Staff of the Storyteller. That's kind of making me regret my decision. Again, I think we're just going to play out non-blue stuff, so we maybe trick them into getting swept up by this Force of Will in a bit. This Staff of the Storyteller feels real good to me. So we have a Force of Will to stop a Glimpse turn. Seems unlikely that we're going to get anything approaching a... Well, they played the Besage out. They didn't want to hit our staff. Okay. Is that it? Just a land. Interesting. Okay, so now we can play out the Snow-Covered Island here. And I guess we just start attacking. So we can draw a card, or we can plow, we can Brainstorm in an emergency, or we can make a Shark, end of turn. We've got a lot of options. I think our opponent does nothing of note. We'd probably just Shark, end of turn. I don't really think we need to Brainstorm. Our hand's pretty good, so we may as well pitch the Brainstorm rather than the Shark Typhoon here. Because the Shark Typhoon is good for 2 cards, which is just better than a Brainstorm pretty much. Glimpse of Nature. We cannot say yes to this. Goodbye. Goodbye, Brainstorm. It's very unlikely to have Veil of Summer in their main deck. They usually just rely on the Allosaurus Rider, Shepherd, whatever it's called. What do we got here? They can have another Glimpse, but that doesn't really do anything. Heritage Druid, sure. So they could play 2 Elves here and then get some more mana going. Why would Symbiote? Sure. Let's make a Shark. This is going to put a counter on our staff, the Storyteller, and we're going to try and kill the Quirion Ranger with it. Just use it as a cantripping removal spell. Sure, they've bounced their creature. A Prismatic Ending, that's pretty nice for us. Wouldn't mind another white source here, to be honest. Did not find another white source. We could try and get lucky and try and draw a card off of this. But if we fail, then we're not doing anything this turn. So I think we are supposed to just ending the symbiote here. If we don't hit this, then we can't hit anything at all. It's just going to bounce with other guys. We could have kept one guy back to block there, I guess. But I don't think our life total was that important here. Really wish we had another white source. Then we could double spell. Or spell and Staff of Storyteller. If we can find a ponder or something like that, we can try and dig into our deck to find that white source. We've got a lot of good draws. There's the Ranger we know about. There's the Heritage Druid. So they could cast a natural order this turn. Alright. I think we have to plow one of these Heritage Druids. Let's reduce the number of creatures they have in play. Go to attacks here. Play our land. And pass the turn. Very much like to find a blue card that we can do something with. I'd like to draw more cards, please. Nettle, Sentinel. They're not attacking because we're representing Shark Typhoon. We've given them the fear. Right, Ponder. Find us a white source, please. There's some white sources. I think we go Plateau, Staff, Vista. We'll not shuffle our library. We will... I think we want that second Staff. I think we'll draw this Staff now. And then we'll play this out. Crack this for a Plains. And kill their Heritage Druid. Once upon a time. This could be pretty good for them. I think what the best thing they could find in the spot they're currently in might be the 2-mana Lord that gives everything the ability to cantrip. They'll probably take a Visionary or something in this spot, but that would be decent, I reckon. Yep, so there's a Visionary. Getting further into their deck. I'm surprised they didn't attack first with the Sentinel. They can get the untap then. And I can't make a Shark that's big enough to kill a Sentinel. Okay, they just don't want to attack. Fair enough. Oh, to us. Supreme Verdict is pretty interesting to me here. Like, we can take a cheeky 3-for-1. It shuts off the Cradle. These have already got way too much value anyway, so I don't really care if they die. Get rid of everything. It's a shame we don't have more white mana, obviously. The red sources for the sideboard cards come at a real cost. A Ranger. And a Symbiote. Sure. What are we going to find? A Ponder. I will lead on a Ponder. And see how we fare with this. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we put the Storyteller on top, then the Force, then the Flooded Strand. We can play this. We can draw a card to get the Force. And we can hardcast the Force if we want to. Then we can crack this to hardcast the Force. I guess we didn't need to do that right now. If we want the other Staff, we can then get the other Staff next turn and just draw more cards. But again, our limiting factor right now is white mana sources. I don't know if we want the third Staff just yet. Although, like, we just want to keep drawing cards so we can find some removal. We will need to end this game at some point as well. We've got this hardcast Force of Will. And Nettle Sentinel, sure, we can let that go. Sure, so we will draw this Staff, the Storyteller. Then we will cast it. We'll charge up our other one, but we're still going to leave up Force mana. This means at end of turn, we can draw some cards if we want to. If our opponent doesn't make us use this Force of Will. We can draw 2 cards. And then we're sort of back ahead, I think, at that point. We're kind of... I think the game is quite even right now. A Glimpse of Nature. I think we have to say no to this one. This could be bait. This could be bait for something like a Natural Order. If they just run up a load of... This is tough, actually. I think we have to just let this go and then counter a Natural Order. Because if this is bait for a Natural Order, then we just lose the game. The fact they're tapping their Cradle is interesting to me. Okay, they're doing it and then bouncing a guy. A Nettle Sentinel. Sure. We can let them have a card here. Doesn't feel great. But again, I think beating the Natural Order is more important here. Now if I play that stupid little Shepherd guy. Grist Hungertide. This is an interesting one for us. We can Prismatic Ending it. I think we let this one go. And we peck it down with Spirit Tokens. Now maybe I'm playing that too cautiously. To let my opponent get quite a bit of value here. They're not going to attack potentially into a Shark. So I don't have to worry about a life total just yet. Let's crack this. We can get a Tundra here. Our opponent's not going to have anything to mess with our mana. Let's draw a card. Let's draw a card. I don't really want to cycle that just yet, I don't think. a Brainstorm. We're going to save the Brainstorm as a blue card, I think. Just play the Staff, the Storyteller. Give ourselves many, many cards here. And then just attack the Grist. Keep this down. We've got Shark, we've got blue card, we've got card draw off of here. I think we're in an okay spot now. A bit dicey letting them resolve that Glimpse and a bunch of stuff. But I think if they try and stick a natural order down our throat, we're going to be pretty glad that we saved that Force of Will. We have the Plow to stop the Shepherd as well. Oh, they're getting leery here. Let's cycle this for 1. Let's make a 2/2. Like, they're going to bounce whatever we get here. So we may as well just kill the insect token. I guess we can kill the Wirewood Symbiote here if we want to. It's going to charge up our bits and pieces. Let's plow the Symbiote and see how they react to this. This lets us kill their Quirion Ranger. We still have Force of Will blue card. We'll block this. We'll save this just so we can kill the Grist next turn. Our opponent's going to think that we were really patient there and like waited for the attack before throwing down a Shark Typhoon we had for ages. I think they know we have a Force of Will because where he paused there on the stack and thought about casting it with the Glimpse turn. Allosaurus Shepherd. Alright. We're going to need some removal spells for this. Elvish Visionary, sure. Another Supreme Verdict would be good. There's one more in our deck, I believe. We certainly have lots of ways of finding cards. So we need to nail this Allosaurus Shepherd or it's going to kill us next turn. So this is all of their permanents in play. I've got nothing in hand. Supreme Verdict's good. Wandering Emperor. That doesn't actually do the things we need it to do. Then we'll draw 1 card like this first, and then we'll do a Brainstorm. A Stoneforge. Sure, that gives us a shuffle effect if we need it. Let's Brainstorm. Yuck. I think we're getting rid of 2 lands here, so it's probably these 2. Play this out. Use this as a shuffle. I'd like to get a white source here. And we can cast this Brainstorm. Humility. Okay. That'll do. So 2 of these got to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it doesn't really matter what order they go back here, I don't think. I don't think we're going to need a Karakas here. The other Staff is okay. We can put that on top for now and draw that next turn. And then we go to attacks. Attack with all creatures. Nail this Grist. We're going to take a hit from these guys, but I think we'll be alright after that. We don't have a blue card for the Force of Will, which is a little bit annoying, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play this Humility. All their guys are 1/1s anyway, but taking off their abilities is pretty good when they have an Allosaurus Shepherd. Alright, so we've got a card draw available to us. Unfortunately, we won't have a blue card for the Force. We had to sort of burn our Brainstorms there. These are just going to attack us for a bunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is about half our life total here. But the Wandering Emperor can gain us life back. The Staff of Storyteller can make more guys. We're going to play as Karakas here. Get this Stoneforge Mystic out. It doesn't have any abilities, but it's a 1/1. Let's get this out. It's going to charge up all our staffs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can hold up Force of Will and Wandering Emperor. That seems fine to me. Wandering Emperor can gain us life, or it can plus and kill a guy, depending on how we feel the situation is going to be. Beseiju, if they've got more, can blow up our Humility, which we probably just die then, I think. Okay, they're not doing anything here. Alright, I think we're just going to draw a bunch of cards here. Draw some more cards. This feels pretty gross being able to just do this every turn. Kaldra Compleat. Is that something we care about right now? This can go and get us... Can this actually get us planes? I think it can. Yeah, 1 more planes, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can't do all of these things. We can probably draw 1 card off Stuff Storyteller though. Timeless Dragon. That's just a 4-mana 1/1, a 5-mana 1/1, isn't it? Not a big fan of that. Alright, we'll pass a turn and we'll start doing Wandering Emperor things soon. Our clocks are pretty much even. So I probably need to speed up a little bit here. That's this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just make a Vigilance guy, I think. Gives us all these Storyteller triggers. Okay, our opponent sees the writing on the wall here. We've got so much card advantage that I don't think they're coming back there. I agree with them. Humility feels fine here. And then what is the question? Like, counter spells don't feel great. We don't have any more removal that we can add in for this matchup. I don't think Surgical is where I want to be either. Force of Negation can counter Glimpse, and it can counter Natural Order. That's probably good enough to consider. Obviously, if they have the Allosaurus Shepherd, we just lose. I think we can bin off a Timeless Dragon. That's probably not getting us anywhere. And then what, really? Teferi doesn't seem great in this matchup to me. Can board that guy out. Shorikai, maybe a little slow. But, yeah, it probably is a little bit slow. Let's get rid of that. I board out 2 blue cards for this. Not a big fan of that. But, see, if we were a more dedicated control deck, we just have options of just killing all their guys. Okay, so we have removal, humility, and a ponder to grease the wheels. I will say keep. Now, our opponent's probably going to have ways of removing our stuff. Like Besaidu's, they might have Thoughtseizers in their deck now. They might have Assassin's Trophy. Let's see. A Nettle Sentinel. Sure. I think we just hold up the plow and then we can ponder next turn to try and set up some lands. We just don't want our plow to be down in case something requires plowing. I imagine we're going to have to use our plow here to... Just an Elvish Visionary. Interesting. Sure. A Supreme Verdict. Okay. Maybe we were supposed to plow end of turn there. Or in combat. Right, let's ponder. See if we can get something else going on here. 2 lands that help us cast our removal spells. Sure. We'll put this on top. Put this on top. Put this on top. We'll not shuffle. So all we have to do is survive a couple of turns. And then we win the game. A Natural Order right now won't be lethal. So if they play something like a Wirewood Symbiote, we can plow it then. A Glimpse of Nature. Yikes, not a big fan of that one. Nothing we can really do about this. We can plow one of their guys and they'll tap their Cradle in response. So they have 2 mana. I think we have to plow something like Quirion Ranger. That's not so bad. I think we hit the Visionary in case they get to just loop Visionaries here. I don't like this play very much. It stops them getting 3 mana off their Ranger. Like, we're probably dead here. We don't have a play really next turn apart from putting like a Staff into play as something to block with. Heritage Druid, yep. This is pretty bad. Right, let's just F6 for his turn and buy back a bit of time. Because our clocks are pretty even. Leaf Crown Visionary. Yep. So this gives them the ability to pay green whenever they cast an elf and then they get another card. Casting Once Upon a Time though, that's probably not where they want it to be. What have you got, opponent? A Visionary, sure. Like, we could play Blood Moons to try and disrupt the Cradle, but I don't think that's really good enough. So we're going to take a bash for 3 this turn. Oh no, they're going to keep going with their Heritage Druid first, aren't they? Yep, sure. So this is going to be an Elvish Visionary that draws 2 cards, because one from the Leaf Crown Visionary, one from its own come into play ability. Fortunately, we can't get this Humility into play anytime soon. Yep, so we're going to take a chunk for 3. Yeah, I got a feeling we're dead here. If we can survive another turn, we'll be alright, but whether or not we can do that, I do not know. I think we're supposed to play out the Stoneforge rather than the Staff here, because the Stoneforge soaks up 2 trample damage. I guess we got the Batterskull in case we need to get some more life going down the stretch. If we can stabilise in our next turn. Our opponent's just got so many cards in hand. So they can play out a guy, cast a Natural Order, and kill us. Now, they might just be playing around a Force of Will, but if we had a Force of Will, they should have seen it last time and then they cast a Glimpse, really. Though we did let a Glimpse go in the previous round. So maybe they thought that we were saving it for the Natural Order. Okay. 8 mana. Just casting Big Crate Hoof. How big is this going to be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6, 12, 18 trample plus the rest. Yeah, that'll do. I don't think I want to do anything differently here. I don't think the Blood Moons for the Cradles makes enough sense to me. I think we just need to... Maybe we want Blood Moons for the Cradles. I don't know. That feels so weak, though. Like, what would we even be cutting for it? Like a couple of Stoneforge? Maybe? I guess. And give it a go. Shut down their big mana battery. And if we can have a Blood Moon and just plow away the Heritage Druids, then they'll be a little bit stuffed for mana. I don't like this one too much. I think we need some sort of removal in our opening hand. This is better. We'll keep this. One of these cards has got to go. Probably... The Karakas doesn't do anything in this matchup, really, does it? I think we can get rid of the Karakas. That way we're better if we do draw the Blood Moon and want to cast it. We'll probably just have to plow whatever elf they play, especially if we're tapping out turn 2. What do you got for us, opponent? Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor. Again, I'll just plow this straight up. Just got to keep their creatures off the board. Stop their momentum, especially as we're tapping out for this. It's a pretty good draw. Let's play our Stoneforge. Can get Kaldra because it's the quickest clock we can provide. We need to clock them. We don't need to try and trade them with life as the game goes long. We just want to get our Kaldra into play and hit our opponent 4 times with it. Our opponent's turn. There's a Boseiju. Probably going to be an Elvish Visionary for 2 mana. Could be a Green Sun. If it's a Green Sun, do we snap off this Force of Will? Because we're not going to get to use it again if they are Green Sunning. Leaf Crown Visionary. I don't think that's too much of a problem right now. Another Force of Will. Okay. Let's put in the Kaldra. Just gets equipped. Let's just see if we can use these Force of Will to race our opponent. I think we probably do pitch Force to Force. We don't have like an enormous density of blue cards either. And Shark Typhoon is just much better than a Force of Will on its own. Our opponent's contemplating this play quite a bit. I imagine it's the other green 2-drop they were thinking about playing on the previous turn perhaps. Aquarion Ranger. This will allow them to get another mana this turn, but I don't really care too much about that. And Nettle Sentinel. No, that's fine. We're just trying to counter the big stuff here. Prismatic Vista. Go Gadget Germ Token. So we've got a 2/2 Shark Typhoon that we can deploy. Now give us more damage because they're going to be chump blocking soon to take up some of the trample damage. So having the flyer going over is going to be the additional damage that's going to make them have to put more things under the bus. And if we get into a situation where they're putting more stuff under the bus, it's going to be harder for them to win the game. Alternatively, we could just draw a Supreme Verdict next turn. If we're not dead this turn, that is. They played a land first. Nettle, we have to counter a Green Sun Zenith for 1. Because this could be a Allosaurus Shepherd, which we never get to counter anything else again. So the 2 forces won't do anything. And this way, at least it keeps 1 creature off the board. And that creature also does let them win the game off of a Cradle, a Bayou. We need to get Thoughtseized here. I wouldn't mind that if you want to take 2 life. No. Okay. They're just playing some spells. A Green Sun Zenith for 1. Sure. So this is probably going to be the Allosaurus Shepherd. This means that as soon as they have 6 mana, they can just pump all their guys into enormous monsters. So we would very much like to find a removal spell. A Supreme Verdict would be great because it won't kill our Kaldra and we can just keep swinging. Our opponent won't have anything. They would have to go off from scratch next turn and kill us that turn. Otherwise, anything they play is just going to have to go under the Germ Bus. I don't think they will block this turn. So we'll make the Shark and then attack with the Shark and the Germ Token. And if they don't block, then they'll take slightly more damage. If I thought they were going to block, then it's best to Wrath first and guarantee that 5 damage. Yep, so there's the Allosaurus Shepherd. 3/3 coming in. Yep, we're not going to block this because we can only make a 2/2. Let's crack this. Do you want the mountain in case we draw the... I think we do want the mountain just in case we draw the Blood Moon here because it will at least shut off their Cradle. Come on, Shark. Draw me a Verdict. A Brainstorm. Not quite a Verdict. There's the Blood Moon. I think we want to Brainstorm before we go to attacks here. Okay. I would very much like a Swords to Plowshares here. Do I want the Blood Moon for the follow-up turn? I don't think so. I think I'd rather just have the land. So I think we're just going to put these 2 on top. Go to attacks. Our opponent for a little bit of damage here. Play this out. Kill this guy. Puts our opponent to 4. But this stops them having a win necessarily on the board. Because I kind of think the last card in their hand might be a Cradle. We can leave the Blood Moon on top. And then decide if we want it or not at the last minute. Because we have a Strand to play. Alright, we got the win there. Cool. We navigate that one pretty well, I think. The Blood Moon might have been useful. But I think it was probably slightly more useful than the things that came out for it. But yeah, alright. So we are 2-1 after 3 rounds. There's still 2 more to go. And it feels like I've been at that for a while. So let's keep going. Alright, we've won the die roll. We're into round 4 now. Island Ponder. We'll give that a keep. Opponent's gone to 6 cards. Again, this isn't a deck that we can mulligan to like counter spell interaction. That's not what we can do here. We've got a few counter spells, but alright. There is a counter spell there, but I think we just need to shuffle this really. We've already got removal in hand. This Force of Will doesn't have a blue card to back up unless we draw the Supreme Verdict. That's a 2-line play and we're not really progressing our game plan. Go any order, shuffle library, and then draw one of those cards. Okay, so we do another piece of removal. If our opponent is a creature matchup, I think we've got this one off to a good start. If they're a combo matchup, they're going to absolutely body us. Oh no, don't tell me it's the mirror again. It's already 10 past 1. I want to get to bed at some point today. I think we'll just play out this Prismatic Vista so we can start being prepared for drawing Brainstorms and shuffling back some of these lands in our hand. We don't really want this Plateau, for example. Okay, it's not the mirror. Okay, good. Tropical Island. Volcanic Island. Okay, we want something rug. Is it a creature-based deck? Okay, this looks like maybe Hot Bant, perhaps? Or it could just be like some sort of rug loam deck, like rug lands. I don't know. We'll get more of an idea as time goes by. We want to keep this Karakas back so it doesn't get wastelanded. It's also going to be very good against an Uro. It's just going to stop the Uro being able to kill us until we can land something like a Humility. Or just like overwhelm it with all of our creatures and cards. There's a Tundra. There's an Uro. Again, we don't care about creatures. We have creatures covered. Yes, this does look like Hot Bant. Interesting to see someone play that. I thought that with the banning of Expressive Iteration, people just stop playing Hot Bant and just play regular Bant. I guess we're playing Snow-Covered Plains and passing a turn. So our opponent can just keep dredging this Life from the Lambs, keep giving themselves food for the Euro. We can just keep bouncing it or killing it. So it's going to be a long one, so I'm trying to be really, really careful and pass the turn and not waste a load of time on our clock if I can help it. Narset. Yeah, that's pretty good. I suspect our opponent is favoured in this, especially if it's going long, since they're most likely to be in a different time zone where it's not 1:15 in the morning. But we'll see how we fare. So our Brainstorms and Ponders are down because of this Narset. Sure, taking it down. But our Shark Typhoons and Staff of the Storyteller, because we can draw on our opponent's turn, are still pretty good. Which means we're probably going to draw a Ponder this turn. They've got a Prismatic Ending. Sure. So our Staff's not going to get a lot of work done. A Force of Will. Sure. So we can counterspell something this turn if we need to. Obviously we've got these plows. Am I finding off of their Narset second activation? Minsk and Boo. That is something I would very much like to counterspell given the chance. Do I think our Force of Will is going to resolve? I don't think so. But we don't really have a choice here because this will just win the game in a couple of turns. We'll get an island. And we've already got a red source in hand, so I'm just going to get a plains here. Cast this. Like, we're going to get a 1-for-1 with our Force of Will, whether they counterspell it or it gets the Minsk and Boo. Okay, we've got 2-for-1 off our Force, pitching Dress down. Okay. Alrighty. So it's going to make a lad. This lad is going to bash our face in for 4. We have a Karakas, which checks this very nicely, because this is a legendary creature. Which is kind of why we've been sandbagging it. These decks do tend to run Wasteland in them, which is very greedy for a 4-colour deck, but some people like to be greedy. Oh my god. It's not really a creature matchup, I'm afraid, deck. Let's see if our opponent understands how the Minsk and Boo interactions work. I can wait for them to activate this or go to combat and bounce this. If they go to sacrifice, I can bounce it in response. Goodbye, Boo. This is an up 2, so they can still go upstairs with it and save some more counters. Okay, so they have a Wasteland. That's why we sandbagged the Karakas. Our opponent is incredibly far ahead in this game. There's an Uro. Now, the thing about this deck is it has 2 win conditions, basically. It has Uro and it has Minsk and Boo. So if we can get rid of those, that'd be alright. Pretty hard things to get rid of the old Uros, though. But post-board, we can bring them Rest in Peace, shuts off their Life in the Lame and their Uro. And we can board in the Hydroblast to hit the Minsk. So we've only got options here. Sylvan Library, sure. They've still got Prismatic Ending in their hand, ready for when we play a Staff of Storyteller. We will Planescycle this. Go and get ourselves Snow-Covered Plains. We'll play our Snow-Covered Plains. We will Eternalize this. So they have a lot of options here. They can make a Minsk and Boo token thingy. They can make the Uro, throw the Uro at the Timeless Dragon, and then bash for 1. Or they can put counters on this and attack us and force us into blocking or holding back, and then they might just kill our Timeless Dragon anyway because we know they've got a Prismatic Ending in hand. If they give us the option to trade here, I think we have to... Do we have to take it? Would we rather they use their Prismatic Ending on this or not? Okay, they've taken the choice out of our hands. That's fine. So we're going to take 4 this turn, but we've got it checked for a few turns, but we need something to get into the game. Prismatic Ending being gone means that our Staff of the Storyteller, if we draw it, is more likely to do something. Sure, so we take 4, we're down to 10. I'm going to see an Uro here. Feels like we are. Our opponent is incredibly far ahead. But I can see a little bit more of our opponent's deck. which is always handy. So I've not really seen much of this deck since the Expressive Iteration banning, so I'm curious what they're replacing things with. Is it multiple libraries? Is it more Narsets? I don't know. A Shark Typhoon. Am I going to do the weird thing and play the Shark Typhoon? That means I only get one Source of Plowshares if I do that. And I might need 2 here. I don't think we can do it. These decks usually run Force of Negation in the main deck, I believe. Like run like 1 or 2 of them. So I think we're just going to... We've got so many plows. We may as well start plowing in our opponent's turn if possible. Terminus. Please cast your Terminus. They did not cast their Terminus. But they've got that in their hand potentially. Obviously Sylvan Library lets them shuffle it away. I don't think they're going to want it at this point. So they're probably just going to shuffle. So they put counters on the boo. We plow it. Otherwise we wait till they get to begin combat and then we plow both of them. What are they putting on top of their library? A Force of Will. Let's try and plow this Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't quite kill it with what I've got going on here. Unfortunately. Hard cast Force of Will. Let's plow this. So if we get rid of it now, they can't make us draw 3 cards. Oh wow, we're just getting all of their cards, aren't we here? No, boo, go away. I'm not sure I want to... Oh wow, there's trousers. This comes in at 4, and then what? Yeah, I guess we can make a big enough Shark Typhoon to block and eat the guy. What do they pitch? Anything interesting? Not particularly. So our plan here is make a Shark Typhoon of 5 and block the boo. Something, something profit, right? Let's see what happens here. Yep. Pump in the guy. Send it in the clown. Let's make a 5-5. Sure. Our shark got plowed. Another Shark Typhoon. It's kind of the wrong time. We kind of need these earlier on when our hand was just Swords to Plowshares. We kind of got a bit jammed up that way. So this is probably just going to be Uro back from the bin. Supreme Verdict is okay here, but not amazing. Our opponent's using more of the time than us anyway. This might end up being a long one again. There's Ponder, sure. Over to us. A Stoneforge Mystic. What does that do here? Not a lot. We need to cycle the Shark Typhoon, and plow the boo. We can't plow because we've used all of our plows. So we can Prismatic Ending, so we need to cycle this now. We also need to possibly hold up for a Supreme Verdict here. Oh wait, no, we're not even going to draw the card, are we? Because of the Narset. Yeah, we're just dead here. Our only removal spell was Sorcery Speed, so we're not beating this. May as well just go to the sideboard. Pyroblasts, Red Blasts, yes please. Blue Blast, yes please. Blood Moons, yes please. Force of Negations, maybe. Rest in Peace and Humility, these also seem good. We have a lot of stuff that seems good. I don't think we want the plows here. I think our plan is differently. I think I'd rather have Rest in Peace and Surgicals. This is sort of where our plan is looking a little bit. This Teferi is obviously very good here. How good is Stoneforge? Stoneforge is something that we can do early on and start putting pressure, which I think is something we're going to have to do. How much do I like these Force of Wills? I don't really like them that much. So the Force of Negation is something we can cast. Maybe we're just not doing 2-for-1s and just trying to grind our way out. I like the Shorikai here. Maybe it's a Timeless Dragon, or that does kind of fix us a little bit. Or are we just getting rid of one Stoneforge? The Humility is good because it stops their 2 threats of Uro and Boo. Those are the only threats in their deck. So if we can shut those off with Humility, then they're not going to be able to do anything. That's why I like them. Maybe we don't need a Supreme Verdict. I don't mind having one in there as a thing that we can do. Actually, do I even like having one? Well, if we're boarding out our Swords to Plowshares, we've got Pyroblast for the Euro, Blue Blast for the Boo. No, we'll take a Force of Negation. We can hardcast that. Yeah, this seems alright. We kind of need to leverage some of our bigger haymakers. Rest in Peace being one of them. We'll keep this. So we can go Island, Ponder, dodge Wastelands and stuff. And we also want to be making sure that we can play around our own Blood Moon when the time comes. Our opponent's mulligan to 6 cards. It doesn't really matter. 6 and 7. Virtually no difference in this sort of matchup, really. It's going to be slow and take a number of turns. Let's Ponder. Prismatic Ending is okay. It blows up a Narset later on if we want it. I think we'll put Ending on the bottom, then Island, then Strand. So we're going to draw that other island because we want to be making land drops in this matchup. And then we can assess how we want our next turn to go. So I'd rather not play into their plow this turn. And I don't really want to play the Storyteller until I can get the value off of it. Again, do I play the Rest in Peace? Tricky. Do I want a Prismatic Ending? I don't think I want to Rest in Peace this turn. Because it's just going to get eaten up by a Prismatic Ending. And we just hold up for this turn. Yeah, so we'll draw this so we can kill a Narset when the time comes. So we can play out our Flooded Strand here. No, I think we want the island. Or if we play out the Flooded Strand here, and then crack this for white, we can play the Staff of the Storyteller. And then we can either draw a card, or we can blue blast something. We need to kind of keep this blue blast up pretty much for the rest of the game. And stop the Minskamboo. Oh, they let our Storyteller staff resolve. Interesting. If they've got a Prismatic Ending, we do get to draw a card off of it, and we kind of got like a nice 2-for-1 there. A Brainstorm. This is an end of turn Brainstorm with fetch land. So they can't cast Boo on this turn coming up, or Minskamboo, but they can on the turn after. They might just cast an Uro this turn, which will give us an opportunity to Rest in Peace and then still hold up our blast. Or they can cast the Narset, which gives us an option to kill it and hold blue blast up. Flooded Strand. No play from our opponent. Alright. We'll go shields down here at their end step because it doesn't really matter. I think we just want another plains here. Although we kind of want to be able to do the Staff of the Storyteller thing, don't we? Alright, we'll just get this, and this lets us do the Prismatic Ending off of the Narset later, and also cast Blood Moon. Our opponent has got to deal with something with their dogs for a second, so this might be on the stack for a while. Right, so we drew a card, and it's back to us. What do we want to do with our turn? We could throw out a Rest in Peace here. I don't want to run this out because we need to hold up for the guy. We'll try the Rest in Peace. This gives our opponent 2 things that they want to Prismatic Ending, potentially. And we can jam a Snow-Covered Island. Get in our measly 1 point of damage. Oh, they crack it. They got an Endurance. Be interesting if they did. Not too worried about an Endurance, to be honest. We'll certainly beat that over time. Yeah, Endurance. Surprised to see that. Not as surprised as our Spirit Token, obviously, but that's fine. Again, I only care about Uro and Minskamboo. We've got Uro checked, so it's just the Minskamboo we really care about at the moment. It's going to be quite difficult for us to stop our opponent from killing our Rest in Peace here, though, if they have a Prismatic Ending. But well, at least we've taken some stuff out of their graveyard, so Uro's going to be a bit further down the line. This also stops them Wasteland locking us, which isn't so much of a problem considering how many basics we have, but it's something I prefer to not happen. So we're probably going to lose our red source here. We'll float red. Make them think we've got a Pyroblast. We don't have a Pyroblast. We've got the other one. We do have Pyroblast in our deck, though. Make them play around the thing that we don't have. Okay, so again, we want to hold up our things here. So I reckon we're probably just looking at cycle Shark Typhoon. So we can hold up our Blue Blast and then cycle Shark Typhoon. Maybe we're supposed to throw out our Ponder that turn before a Narset comes down. There's a Ponder. So this isn't a Minskamboo turn. We probably only make a 1/1 shark here, but we'll see. A Narset, okay. That definitely encourages me to make a slightly bigger shark. So if they attack with the Endurance, then we make... Well, we're not going to get to Staff the Storyteller this turn if we use our Shark Typhoon anyway. Sure, so it's coming in at us. Understood, opponent. We have white spells, but a Blood Moon is also real good for us if we can draw it. I think we're supposed to still get the basic plains here. Like, the Snow-Covered Mountain is so bad for us, and we're operating on not that many lands right now, So we'll draw a card off our Shark Typhoon. We'll put a counter on our Staff the Storyteller, which we can cash in next turn. The Shorikai isn't very good right now, unfortunately. A Pyroblast. This is an interesting draw. So this Shark is going to go at the Narset to stop them drawing 2 cards with it, drawing a second card with it. But we can't do any Ponder stuff to dig for another land because of the Narset. We didn't get the mountain, and we're kind of punished for it, which is amusing and irritating at the same time. But we can fire off a Staff of Storyteller or another Shark Typhoon and finish off this Narset and then unlock our Ponders and Shorikai. Shorikai is pretty tasty. It draws you 2 cards and then discards a card. So it gives you a really strong amount of filtering. But obviously in the face of a Narset, it's terrible. Maybe this is supposed to go in this matchup. Mystic Sanctuary being dead draw is nice. There's the Brainstorm that we knew our opponent had because they got off the Narset. We do not have a Pyroblast this turn, which is an issue. Okay, no Minsk and Boo because you cast that pre-combat. Coming in with Endurance. Alright. Feels like we're losing a shark here to something. Whether that's going to be another Endurance or what, I don't know. Right, let's do the same play as last turn. Draw a card, make a shark. We can send 2 of them at Narset and then unlock our Ponder. We'll lose one of them to the Endurance. That opponent looks like they're casting over here. They're doing this now, so before we draw a card that could be a Force of Will or a blue card, and also we're tapped out, so we'd have to 2-for-1 ourselves with what we have in hand now if we wanted to kill this Endurance. Our opponent doesn't have a lot of time on the clock. I don't want to win another round by time. That'd be a bit shameful, but maybe that's what's going to happen here. Right, so the Endurance, Shark Typhoon makes a shark. We get a counter on our Storyteller, and we draw a card. Okay, a land. Happy to see that. Okay, we're going to go to attacks. We're going to kill this Narset. They get to hoover one of these up with an Endurance. They could Pyroblast one of these sharks, but that feels like a... I feel like a very bold use of a Pyroblast. Flooded Strand. I guess we're playing out this Stoneforge Mystic, holding up Blue Blast and Red Blast. We'll get this... Probably needs to be a Batterskull at this stage of the game, doesn't it? So we can hard cast it soon. Sure. So they got 6 damage, and if we crack our fetch, it's lethal. So we need to not crack our fetch, ideally. Minsk and Boo. I would like to counter target red spell, please. We're going to minor misstep. Alright, here we go. We'll get ourselves the Volcanic. Destroy counter target spell. If it's blue, we will counter their misstep. I don't know if they're going to have forces in here. Alright, no Minsk and Boo. Let's draw a card. Okay, a Brainstorm. Very unuseful. So this is 6 damage, so we have to block here. So we have one play available to us here. And that play is make Batterskull. Protect it with Force of Negation next turn. That is our plan to win this game. To have another Minsk and Boo, that's pretty bad news for us. We have to counter this, otherwise we lose the game. That's their only white source in play right now. Besage. Yeah, that's us dead. Alright. GG's opponents. Yeah, their deck did more stuff than ours, I think, really. I think this Narset was just such a backbreaker. And where we've got these, like, Stoneforge Mystic just doesn't feel like a great card, especially in these sorts of control-y matchups, whereas they've just got, like, better creatures here that also allow them to play more instant speed, and they've got Narsets, which are an absolute backbreaker for us. Alright, so we are 2-2 going to the final round. At least that didn't come down to time, which is nice to see. Alright, final round. We're pretty good at winning die rolls. Wouldn't mind winning some more games. We have Island Ponder. I will keep this. We also have something that finds our 3rd land. So we need a land in the top 5 cards of our library, I guess. Yeah, we got 5 cards to find one, right? 4 off of this and 1 for the draw step. That seems a-okay to me. Ponder. Found of a land. We do not want this Kaldra, so that can go bottom. We do want this Staff of Storyteller, and we do want this Prismatic Vista. So we'll take those, and we'll pass the turn. Depending on what our opponent plays, depends on whether or not we want to jam this Stoneforge or play the Staff. Savannah. So this looks like we're going to be some sort of... Oh, Crashing Footfalls has entered the exile zone. Understood, opponent. Understood. Pretty happy about this Supreme Verdict in my hand right now. Let's crack this. Going to get a white source. I'm just going to get a Kaldra. That beats Rhinos pretty handily. Force of Will, pitching Uro. Sure. At least this one probably won't be a particularly long round, at least. That's something. It's nearly 2 o'clock here, so I'm quite tired. Are we going to get Rhinoed this turn? Feels like we're getting Rhinoed. Why are they doing this now? I guess they're trying to play around me having mana open. In a world of misstep, this deck feels even worse now because you just misstep the Crashing Footfalls for 1 mana. Alright, I'd like to draw a land. We didn't draw a land. I think we will Plane Cycle here. And I think we just need a Tundra here. We'll play our Tundra. We'll pass the turn. So we can plow one of these if we want to. How many counters left on this one? I don't know. How do we... Look, 2 more counters. Okay. We will be playing one of these guys. They suspended another one. Let's just save ourselves some damage here. Okay, 1 off of this. 4 of this, sorry. Brainstorm. Okay. Let's Brainstorm. There's a land we need. So we can put back the Shark Typhoon. We can keep the ending if we want here. And what else are we gonna... We're gonna want this Supreme Verdict later. Probably just another Shark Typhoon that goes here. So we can play this out. Cast this. Get this Kaldra. It's going to be indestructible. Just exile this while we're here. Goodbye, Rhinoceros. Okay, so one's on 1 and one's on 3. Now we get our Kaldra into play next turn, which can mop these guys up pretty easily. Let's get our start the Storyteller down first. These will not have haste, so white. Let's put this in. Which triggers this. We don't have a blue source, white source for this. Do we hold this back? I think we might just hold it back actually. Spirit Guide can't attack us that way. Hopefully we can just hold them off enough until we can Supreme Verdict the second Crashing Footfalls. And then it should be lights out. Brazen Borrower can certainly bounce some of the stuff we're working with here. A Leyline Binding. What's that going on? Presumably our Kaldra. Yeah, that's pretty good. Guess we're taking 2 from this guy. Yeah, we'll take 2 from that. Yeah, a Plateau. So I guess we'll draw a card first. Not a great card, is it? So we can Wrath now, and then our opponent's got 2 turns to find something, but then we also have 2 turns to find something, but we've got a Staff of the Storyteller kicking around. I don't hate that. White. We need to crack this one first, don't we? We should have poked him for 1 damage as well, actually. Missed the point of damage there. These sorts of things happen at 2 o'clock in the morning, so... Alright. There's Crashing Footfalls in 1 more turn's time. So we've got another draw from our staff. We can start making sharks that are bigger than rhinos. Wandering Emperors, very nice. Have me some of that. Let's draw a card. Alright. We're going off. This charges both of our staves. We'll draw a card now in case we draw a Ponder or something, so we can set up our turn next turn, because we want to cast the Emperor next turn so that it can kill one of the rhinos. There we go, Ponder, just like we drew it up. What have we got on top? Double Shark Typhoon Plains. Sure. We'll put these on top. We will not shuffle our library. We've already played a land for the turn. You can have 2 4/4 rhinos on turn 7. Just getting a little bit of damage here. 1, 2, 3. Got hard cast Force of Will over there? They do not. So this puts us up to 13. And then we can just take the 4 this turn. And draw some cards with the Staff of Storytelling. Source Plowshares as well if we need one. Sure. This game feels pretty over for us. I do not like the Crashing Footfalls deck, to be honest. I do not think it's a great deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to have 5/5 Shark and hold up a Plow. That seems good. Recharge our staffs. Get another card. A Petty Theft. Let's plow this Rhinoceros. Yeah, our opponent's seen the writing on the wall there. So, what do I like in this matchup? Force of Negation feels pretty reasonable. Humility, again, feels alright. Rest in Peace nails the Euro, but I think I'd rather nail him with a Surgical. Is that right? Would I rather Surgical or not? The Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast seem good here. Blood Moon definitely has some text, because they can't ever cast Euro under Blood Moon. They can't cast a whole bunch of their spells, so maybe these things are alright. Teferi stops their deck from functioning, so quite a big fan of that. I don't know if they're going to have any interesting sideboard plans here. I quite like the Stoneforge just being able to dump one of these big things into play. I think we can probably trim a Timeless Dragon. Wandering Emperor's just removal. We can probably trim a Shorikai. That's a lot of cards we need to find room for. So the Force of Negations are obvious ones that we want. Then I think the next best card to bring in is probably the Blasts. Blast over Humility, is that... Maybe if we board out our Humility for Blasts, that's just better. We need our counter spells here. Staff of Storyteller feels like the best card in the deck. We need our removal spells. I'm not sure how we fit in these other 2 blasts. Our opponent's deck probably has Minsk and Buin as well, which is important to think about. We've kind of got that covered with Force of Negation a little bit. Maybe we can junk a couple of Ponders for red blasts and then rely on our forces for Minsk and Buin. We also do have the Karakas, which is pretty good against Minsk and Buin. We'll try like this. We see some more cards from our opponent. Like, they're a very good player, so they've obviously got a reason for playing this deck that I don't think is very good. We have a Force of Negation into Stoneforge, is probably fine. Opponent's been going on 7 cards. Just play out an island in case something goes weird and we need to Brainstorm. But we're not brainstorming for blue card. Brainstorm is our blue card. I would very much like to be able to Brainstorm this turn though. If we can draw a blue card, that'd be really handy. We did draw a blue card. Okay. Do we need to Brainstorm now? I don't think we do. Although we might be pondering, I guess. Let's Brainstorm. Wowzers trousers. Okay, we'll get rid of this Kaldra Compleat. And I don't think we need this mountain yet. We can get rid of this plains, we're about to fetch it up anyway. Sure. We can leave the mountain on top and decide later. Alright, so we've got Force of Negation into Force of Negation. These ones don't cost us life, so we'd rather use these than the Forces of Will. So do you want to draw this plains on top of our deck or not? That is the only question for us now. Well, like plains, I don't think so. Ooh, we're getting some shenanigans here. They go on our turn, we have to use our Force of Wills rather than our Force of Negation. I'm going to cast the thing in response. We don't have mana up. I don't really mind that too much. A Violent Outburst, holding up blue for the... this is to counter the... with Mystic Dispute, I think it's called. Do I care about 2 rhinos? Like, we're about to make... I'm basically going to have to pitch 4 cards to deal with this rhino. I don't think we care about this enough. I think we need to hit the Minsk and Boo. I guess we can try 1 here. Pitching this Force of Negation. I suspect we're going to get Mystical Disputed. That's fine. Yeah, okay. So we let this go, I think. And we rely on our Stoneforge being able to deal with it. We don't want to get Minsk and Boo. Minsk and Boo is scarier than rhinos. I think we're just getting plains here. A Shark Typhoon. Let's play this. So our opponent's thinking about the Pyroblast. Let's get this because this beats everything in combat. It's coming in for 4 here, that's fine. Another Force of Will. Sure. We just pass a turn here and make a Kaldra. And block some rhinos with it. Activate this. A Leyline Binding. I will Force of Negation this. I will Force of Will this. Opponent has 1 card in hand. So we get to snap up one of these. We go to 5, which is more than 1 hit from a rhino, thankfully. Scalding Tarn. I don't even know if we play this one out. I think we hold it. And I think we'll pass a turn just in case something goes wrong and we need to block with our Stoneforge. Opponent's got 1 card in hand here. Minsk and Boo can beat us here. I think if they had Minsk and Boo, they would have cast it already. Unless they're drawing it right now. A Shardless Agent, sure. So this can go and get them some more Rhinoceroses. And they can build up for an Alpha Strike instead. A Batterskull. This is a very good draw for us. We'll pass a turn. Batterskull. Go to blocks. So block here. Block here. Take these 2 out. We gain 4. We lose 2. And then we can put the Batterskull on our Germ token. And then I think we're in a good spot. If they had a Leyline Binding, they would have cast it then. This gives it Vigilance. Imagine if they had a removal spell for this, they would have fight it off already. So this game does 9 life if this connects. Yeah, okay. I think that's probably the game there. Or a long way towards it, right? They can't really attack into this. They can't really block it. This is probably the first time today that the Stoneforge thing has actually looked good in the deck. That's just the nature of matchups we've played. Doing that Batterskull was obviously pretty clutch. Once we get to untap with our mana, then we're in an even safer spot, I think. Interesting attack. We're getting borrowed here. We are getting pay thefted. So we get a 5 here. Alright. So we're effectively on 9. Sorry, we're on 10 here if we attack with this. And they got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 coming back. So I think we equip on here. Go to attacks. This has got Vigilance, so we have our cake and eat it quite nicely there. We've got a Force of Will backing us up here because we've drawn all the forces. This is big enough to block a Rhinoceros. I'm playing something end of turn here, or... Okay. Staff of the Storyteller. So if we attack with this, they can put 2 creatures underneath it. What does that do for us? We kill their Rhinoceros if they do that. That seems fine to me. They should put all of their creatures in front of it, just in case. Yeah, so we take away the biggest guy. And we get a rebuy with Staff of the Storyteller, which can block this. Force of Will. How important is Force of Will to me here? No, that's fine. These can attack. We can make a shark. Give it a Batterskull. Give us a shark. Fire. I'm going to say no to this. They can cast a Brazen Borrower to chump block this. That's a Brazen Borrower. Our opponent's really given up a good fight here, considering they've been up against it a fair chunk here. So this gains us 5 life. We have a massive blocker here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 1 mana off of putting the Kaldra on it. Ideally, I'd not like to draw the Kaldra, but... Alright, and there's the match. Alright, so that particular match felt pretty easy, but I think the opponent was very good. Because, you know, Arkan's a very good player. But the deck they're playing is just not very strong, in my opinion. And they had a really good go of it. They had some really good draws, but I don't think... We got a little bit lucky with some of our draws at times. But I think we could have won that one in the best of 3. Also, we did lose one game earlier on in the league where we drew only lands until we died right from the beginning. So I don't feel too bad about the 3-2 record then. Let's have a chat about the deck. So this deck obviously felt good. The big highlight of the deck is clearly Staff the Storyteller. This card is legitimately bananas, and I think it's going to be a core engine of Legacy moving forward. That's how good I think this card is. It's just so easy to leverage, and it fits nicely into Shark Typhoon type stuff too. And there's loads of other ways you can fit it in and just absolutely jam cards. Maybe there's some sort of weird token deck. I'm going to try all sorts of stuff with this in coming weeks. So Staff the Storyteller felt good. The Stoneforge Mystic plan did not feel good in this league. Now, part of that is due to matchups. We got all these sort of bigger control decks than us. So we got the mirror, but the control version without the Stoneforges. So they just have more answers. So our creatures are rubbish, basically. And we kind of need to grind in a different way. And Stoneforge isn't going to do that for us. And we lost a Hot Bant, which is obviously another big control deck. And again, they just have removal spells and big stuff to go over the top. They're not trying to sort of nickel and dime with these little Stoneforge stuff. But in the last matchup, that was where the Stoneforge Mystic came in clutch. It let us stabilize a board when we were behind in a big way by just chucking down this Kaldra that's bigger than everything else and just saying, we're going to win the game this way. And the life gain off Batterskull as well was essential. So it's not necessarily that Stoneforge is bad. It's that it completely skews your spread of matchups. And whether or not you want the Stoneforge or you want the other stuff, I don't know. I do like that Stoneforge and Batterskull and Storyteller together give you a loop to keep drawing additional cards. That's pretty neat because you can bounce and replay your Batterskull, which gets a token, which then powers up your Storyteller. It's not the cheapest thing. It's a 6 mana combo for a turn. But if you're in a late game grinding and you just need extra cards, that's something you can rely on. I think I would have quite like another Teferi here. Teferi seems like one of the big game breakers. Also, Supreme Verdict is kind of odd here when we're trying to play Stoneforge Mystics and stuff. Yes, it doesn't kill your Kaldra, but your Staff of Storyteller and Shark Typhoon stuff getting swept up in it. I'm not entirely sure about that. I think it's more just the Stoneforge Mystic that's puzzling me a little bit here. I think we could maybe have some other cards there. Something like a Trinian Nemesis would give you more blue cards and would also give you a guy that kind of just does its own thing and can stabilize a board. Although against Rhinos or something like that, it would have been pretty bad. So there is that. Wandering Emperor is obviously something that stabilizes boards pretty well. So there's definitely options here, and you can play various versions of this deck for sure. Like I said, in the description, I'll link Bosch and Roll played a league, a really nice league actually. It's well worth checking out with the more control-y version of this deck, like an earlier iteration of it as well. So that's probably worth having a look at if you're interested in this archetype. Yeah, I think this is getting towards the direction that Blue-White Control is going to be wanting to go. Shark Typhoon is quite a powerful card, bit of a later game type thing. Staff of Storyteller, just getting you a body that can just sort of soak up an attack for a turn or pressure Planeswalkers a little bit is quite nice. And then obviously you can then just start charging up with other bits and pieces. I'd be curious to see what sort of shells people try and fit Staff of Storyteller into. I've already got 1 or 2 planned for you that hopefully you'll enjoy. But yeah, this deck feels pretty good. I can see how it won the challenge. Obviously, you'd have to get less control matchups, I think, than what we got here to win all the games. But the sideboard, feel we didn't have that many counter spells. We didn't have that many removal spells because we're kind of going heavily into blasts here and we got a bunch of graveyard hate. And we're kind of relying on the humility as our removal spell that kind of catches all. So it's not like when you're playing the bigger control build where you say, what do I need to deal with? Do I need to deal with creatures or do I need to deal with like spells and permanents? Spells and like non-creature permanents. So you kind of have 2 halves of your deck. So you have like a bunch of counter spells and a bunch of removal spells. And depending on how you want it, you have your 75 set up that way. Normally you'll have your creature removal in your main deck and then more sideboard hate, things like Flusterstorm, more Force of Negations, that sort of thing. Whereas, or like Missteps as well are really good. Whereas this version, we've kind of got 4 Force of Wills and 2 Force of Negations. So we're not that many counter spells unless we're countering blue spells. So if we're against things like Saga Storm and the Epic Storm, we're not actually going to have very many tools here to work with. So that's something to note, that the spread of matchups is going to be a bit awkward. But again, you can definitely tailor this. Like Blue-White has all the cards now, and now we're not trying to beat the Card Advantage Expressive Iteration. We've got a lot of joy we can get that way. I'm not convinced about the mana base in terms of the Plateau and the Volcanic Island. It felt like we were really hungry for white sources all the time. And again, the snow-covered mountain is a bit of an awkward one. It's nice to have as an option to find. Maybe we're supposed to just have the snow-covered mountain and just run Scalding Tarns, Flooded Strands, Prismatic Vistas, that sort of thing, and maybe scrap the plateaus off, the plateau and the Volc perhaps. Obviously, post-sideboard when you have more need for red, I can see wanting more. But 3 red sources is a lot, especially when 2 of them aren't giving you white mana and you need so many white pips. You've got white, 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 white every turn for stuff as Storyteller as well as your removal spells. Like we had that game where we couldn't remove stuff and draw cards, so we couldn't pull ahead. We could just sort of keep the board stable for a little bit. Now eventually we drew another white source and pulled out of it. That was fine. But I think maybe you could tweak the mana base slightly. Alright, I think we've discussed this one quite enough. I think the deck's good. I think the main winner here is Staff of Storyteller. This is the headline one. Go out and buy them. I'm probably going to buy some before this video goes live, hopefully. But yeah, deck's cool. If you want to support my channel, like, comment, subscribe. These things cost you nothing and really help me out. If you want to join my Discord, there'll be a link in the description now. That's a new thing I've brought out. So if you can come and join me in the Discord, chat about stuff. I've got some ways of supporting me financially. If that's a thing that you're able to do and want to do, you're more than welcome to. But obviously, you know, not everyone has any money and wants to spend it on stuff like this. So by all means, just come and hang out. I don't charge people to enter my Discord. I just think it's nice to have people chatting about Magic. All right, I think we're done here. So thank you very much for watching and goodbye.